Jesus Christ, I love you, God. Chest plate of righteousness. Jesus. I'm sorry. Bro, I kept watching that video today. My friend does that little impression. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Anyways, welcome back to Cozy with Liyah, episode 7. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you went to church this morning. If not, it's okay. But pull out that Bible, watch a sermon, something like that. If you're on YouTube, you're probably seeing that there's no video, because the topic today is close to my heart and I might cry. But I just don't want anyone to see. So, yeah, welcome back. I can't wait to get into this topic today. We're honestly just going to hop right into it after I say a little zip real quick. So, I'm not the most consistent with episodes anymore, and I apologize for that. But I also recognize that if you don't know what I'm doing right now, I'm about to graduate in May, but I'm a December grad, so I have to come back in the winter. That's on top of also searching for grad school a semester late. I'm also doing a lot of end of year activities like choir concerts and graduation requirements, organization stuff. I'm also just stressed about life in general. I'm depressed. But it's okay. God's going to work on me. God's going to work on me, and I'm going to listen to him, and it's going to be all right. I had me a little cry session today with my younger sister, Amari, and I feel better. I'm excited to, get back on track. I've been a little irritable lately, and I've let the spirit of anger try to tell me what to do, and I'm not going to do that no more. We're not going to let that happen. No. Anyways, so the topic for today, as you can see, letters to Liyah. So what I wanted to do was a suggestion that my friend gave me to do letters to myself in the future, the past, but kind of almost reflecting on what I've done. And so this idea kind of took me for a loop because I hadn't thought of it, but it was so cute. I feel like the young me would be so starstruck by who I am because we got through so much. I feel like future me would be able to reminisce and hopefully take a lot that I'm going to talk about today and continue that, because there's so much that I'm going to talk about today. So with that being said, we're going to do a whole episode about it. Now, I'm only going to touch on 3 topics, so not too much. I'm just going to talk a lot, probably in each. So I'm going to talk on 3 topics that I think would be relevant to my life right now, about the turmoil that might be in those, maybe the struggles that I might have had within these 3 topics. I was going to do family, but I realized I don't have anything per se that I don't have anything bad to say about my family except my father. And I guess it's not bad. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. It's not bad, but it's just I don't feel the most comfortable talking about my dad completely and elaborating, especially for my younger self. Yeah, not happening. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about 3 other topics, family not included, that I think would be beneficial for my younger or my future self, and also for those of you listening at home. So just, tune in. Keep in mind that I am a Christian, so a lot of this stuff is going to tie back into Jesus, and I'm not apologetic about it. But if that's not your your thing, I respect that. I saw love, but this might not be the episode for you, or the podcast. I don't know. But yeah, so here we go. Topic 1, friends and friendships, and also relationships, because I think that'll be a good mix. So I think in my experience, when friendships and relationships end, I have a huge habit. The question I ask is, what did I do wrong? Which is sad if you think about it. And I've asked that question for a long time. And I think that comes from the concept that I wasn't good enough to do something, and I didn't feel good enough. I'm going to say an I feel statement, because I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not good enough, but that I felt like I wasn't good enough. And I felt like I deserved the things I went through, because the outcomes of those friendship relationships were so bizarre to me that I was like, there's no way someone would just do this if I didn't do anything wrong. But there's a reality that, yeah, you didn't do anything wrong and they still did that to you. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with how they went about it. And I mean, there's always things to improve on. There's always things to look at and say, you know what, I could have communicated better. You know what, I could have had a conversation about this. I could have not done this. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But that does not equate to deserving the horrible things you go through. Especially when we think about those high school, middle school friendships and relationships. We make so much excuses for other people that we continue to bash ourselves and not give ourselves the grace that we deserve. And I get it. Like, life is not going to always be sunshine and rainbows. So oftentimes we think that, yeah, I did deserve that. Because there's no other explanation. There's no other reason. Like I said, like, that's a very extreme thing when you, like, get ghosted. And when you get told off and cut off. You might not realize, like, oh, maybe that person just wasn't ready. Maybe that person, maybe they did the wrong thing, and maybe they didn't do the right thing, and maybe that's something that they're regretting. We don't know that because we just see the end of a relationship and a friendship. But one thing I would say is they're just not that person for you, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be your fault that something ended. It doesn't have to be anybody's fault. It could just be the way that God needs it to go. This person is in your life to maybe teach you a lesson. I love the concept of people. Sometimes people are in your life for a reason and for a season. And that might have been a season. And you know, as an Ohioan, I'm very familiar with seasons coming and going. And sometimes seasons come back in the middle of nowhere. But sometimes they don't come around. I think of like the way that we experience like friendships and relationships in college, because we're at a certain point of our lives, we think that everything has to be permanent. But like, I don't realize that I'm still so young. Maybe on campus I might be an old head and people might think I'm older, but like when I go into the real world, like the workforce looks at me like a baby. I'm 22. And for some people, they're like, you have so much life ahead of you. And for those who are young, like 19 years old, of course I'm old. You old. And that's okay. Because I realized that I do have so much life ahead of me. I'm not even close to my midlife. And so I just think of that. And like, life is so short. It's too short to sit here and think about the things I can change when maybe it had nothing to do with me, and I can focus that energy on other things that I can grow in. And you will find those people that love you. And that's in friendships and relationships. And one thing that I think is important to remember is don't try to fill that void with the love of someone else. Because that love, or what you think is love and your perception of love, will never be permanent when you search for it in that way. When you try to search for it to fill or cover something that's already hurting, rather than you got to fix the damage that's in there, it might not be stable for you. And it might damage you even further. You deserve to be loved in a way that is warm, not avoidant and scared and hesitant. You deserve to be loved out loud in a way that's like, that makes you feel good about yourself. And I guess this seems like it's leaning towards more relationships, but I guess it is. And there's so many times in relationships where I've settled with certain things because I believe that, oh, well, I don't know if this was something that I deserve more than. And like, if I want to be in a relationship, then I have to settle with this. And I think that's forgetting the whole purpose of love. Love shouldn't be something that you settle with. Love is an emotion. It's not a placement. You know, oh, I'm placed here, so I have to love this person. I have to do it this way. I have to do it that way. Love is not the most conventional thing. And I think that we are also like so focused on like what we think that we deserve. Like I said before, with like just thinking that we deserve certain things. That it also goes to like we experience bad people in our lives, bad partners, bad boyfriends, bad girlfriends, bad husbands, bad whatever. And we think, wow, it can get no better than this. Or if it does, then like, oh, well, it's better than this, so it's good, right? But it's because we settle for this idea that this is where we're comfortable. And This is what I've constantly experienced. So because of that, this is what I think I deserve. Because, it's comfortable when you've experienced like trauma in relationships and toxic relationships. When you experience a toxic person, you are familiar with how to navigate it. Oh, I know what I think this person needs. But when you're experiencing someone who knows how to navigate you and knows your wants and needs and knows your heart, sometimes you are convincing yourself like, oh, something's gotta be wrong. So I'm unfamiliar with this. You don't have to know everything. You don't. And I think also a rule that I remember from, I actually got this from The Bachelor this past Bachelor season. I don't watch The Bachelor, and this quote has been in my head about love since then. And I think I kind of take it and like transfer it to like how I feel about God's way of placing love in my life. That if I can care for someone and love someone as much as I did with the person who wasn't for me, imagine how much love and care for someone that I can have for the person that God has envisioned for me. That's so powerful. And it makes me think of my favorite Bible verse that I'm probably going to get tattooed on me someday. 1 Corinthians 13:4. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. There's so many things I can transfer out of being patient and kind. When it comes to being patient and kind and not envious or boastful and humble, respectful, there's so much that we can use as people out of this word, out of the Bible, to understand our relationship with the people around us. That when it doesn't feel patient, when we feel like we have to rush, get into something quick. Oh my gosh, I have to hurry up and get in this or I'm never going to find love. That's not love. And like your intention with love has to go by this as well. If it's not kind, are you sure the intention is right? If it's envious, are you sure it's the right intention? Love doesn't envy the blessing of others, the way that God blesses other people. That's not how people envy, It doesn't, you don't boast about the love that you have for other people. That's not what love is. And I think it's just such a beautiful thing to know that that's in God's word. Like, it's not just a random, fortune cookie fortune that we see. This is in the Bible. And it's like, it's relative to my life. And like, it gives me faith and hope that God will work in that same way on me to find that partner. I know that my heart is made to be a parent, a wife, a godmother, an aunt. I think that my love has always been, in my heart to give to my family. And we think about like purpose, and I think I've always struggled with like finding my purpose and what is my purpose. But I realized that I feel like my purpose is to be that good person in people's lives and to use the Bible as a manual to do that. I'm still learning. I'm not perfect. I don't know every single verse in the Bible, but I understand God's love and I understand my relationship and how important it is to have. And that's where I started. And that's where I'm going to continue to stem from. Speaking of purpose, the next topic, career choice. Because, girl, you are going to jump around. And that's okay. That is okay. Because you will find your passion. And trust, it's not far from home. So, if you don't know, for any listeners, my future plans are to be a kindergarten teacher. And it's because of what I went through as a child. Like, I think a lot of times teachers didn't, quote unquote, know what to do with me. And that discouraged me in the classroom. I felt like I wasn't allowed to be knowledgeable about certain things. I felt like I wasn't allowed to be wrong. And so I think that's also affected the way I am now with like feeling like, oh, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong about this. Because I think it's affected the way I think people view me. And I want to be that person for another child. The person who is supportive of them, who allows them the space to be wrong and to learn, because that's how it is. And I always felt like I was going to lose my purpose. But I'm never without my purpose. I was never without it. I'm gonna take detours, and sometimes it felt like a waste, especially like in college. When I first got to college, I thought I was gonna stick with sociology and be done, and I changed my major 5 times. And my future plans still have nothing to do with my final major, but they're the foundation of what I want to be when I go into my career. And I feel like God gave me this life to navigate how to find the plans that He has for me. And you got to let God guide you there. Don't do it on your own. Don't allow yourself to, be Wonder Woman and feel like you have to do it by yourself. And, if I don't do it by myself, I'll never know. No. You are not. You are. How do I word this? Just because you need support and just because you need assistance does not mean that you are incapable of being self-sufficient. You are very capable. But sometimes you got to stop and be like, this is too much. I am not able to do this right now. My heart hurts and I'm stressed. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going with my life. That's okay, because that means that if you have questions, you stop. We learned this in school. And this is just the future educator in me. The analogy I'm about to use is just ridiculous. When you have questions in class, what do? You don't just sit there. You raise your hand. That's what we're taught. When you have questions, guess what? Raise your hand. I feel like when we have those moments of I don't know what I'm doing, that's when you're supposed to raise your hand. I think we forget that, because that transferable kind of lesson gets lost because we get to this point in life and as a society where we feel like we can't be wrong. We can be wrong. I might go into my plans as a kindergarten teacher and go, oh wow, this is not for me. But I will find a career. I will find what God has for me. I will find what fits my personality and my heart, because I want to be able to love what I do. I want to do what I do until the day I am no more. I don't want to just settle with something because I feel like it brings in the most money. I don't want to settle with something just because I feel like that's what other people want me to do. I want to do something because Liyah wants to do it, and because this is what makes me happy. So don't forget that. The next part is God. I don't know why I was like, what's next? This is the last topic, but God being in my life was not as constant as it is now. When I was young, I grew up in the church. I was raised by a PK. I have minister aunties and uncles, pastors. My grandparents are bishops, or my grandfather's a bishop and he's a pastor of my church. Grandma's the first lady, she's a pastor. And my great grandmother, she was a bishop. My sister's a minister. My mom's a minister. I have grown up in the church, and I've learned that not everyone's experience in the church is the same, and sometimes people can be forced into feeling a certain way, and sometimes it's what determines their relationship with God and their relationship with the church, because we have people who feel the need to scare people into a relationship with God and force people into it. But a lot of times we think that because we give up on God, that's it, Oh, you said no, and that's it. And that's not true. God never leaves us. And we think that God gives up on us, but it's us that give up on Him. But we can find Him again. And sometimes it might have to be that moment where you hit rock bottom to hit all the way up. And I think about that in terms of my life and how God has transformed my life. As a young child, I grew up in the church, like I said before, but then as I got older, I realized that I was made to believe that God was someone who wanted perfect people, perfect Christians who never sinned, Christians who never did anything right. When I realized that I was not perfect, and that I wasn't this person who could do everything, that I didn't think I was worthy of being a Christian. And so I allowed myself to believe that God did not want me, and that God did not want to continue helping me. And I allowed this incorrect teaching to be at the foundation of who I was. And I, at some point, did not. I don't even want to say it. Like, it's rough. Like, I didn't think that God was on my side, and I didn't think that I was a believer anymore. And I fell into a lot of things I shouldn't have fell into. There was a lot of stuff that I was doing, situations I got myself in, that I know if I had just leaned on God, I would have gotten out of it. But I went through all of that for a reason. God wanted me to seek him. He didn't want someone to, like, try to tell me about myself, because he knew that that's not how he knew I wouldn't respond to that. He knew that's not how I would want to be, quote unquote, gotten returned to him. He knew that if I went through what I went through, I would cry out to him. I would surrender my life. And in a moment where I felt like my life wasn't worth living, I just remember, like, looking up to, like, the ceiling and just going like God, please help me. And I think that it gives me chills thinking about how alone I felt, how rock bottom I really was. But to know that all I did was cry out his name and speak to him, my heart felt warm again. And I think that's important to remember, that sanctification is a process. That's something that my little sister taught me, because she's like one of the greatest teachers I've ever had. You're not going to learn everything. Like, some people, it might be easier for them to do that, but Rome was not built in a day. And trust, I am Rome. It took me all of college to get right with God. I was not doing a lot of great things when I was in college. I'm still not doing a lot of great things. Sometimes I cuss up a storm. But I know that at the end of the day, I have to work on that. And I always say that God is continuing to work on me, because I know that God's not giving up on me. And if I'm not giving up on him, if he's not giving up on me, I'm definitely not giving up on him either. I wouldn't give up on him even if he did. Not that he would, because that's God for you. I'm so grateful for his grace and mercy, because without him, I don't know where I would be. And I think it helped me get through all the trauma that young Liyah has gone through. And I do that also for the future me as well. To know that I can do this work now, so that the future me finds the things that she dreamed of, and finds the things that she's prayed for, finds the things that she's asked for and wanted in her life. I'm working on that so that I can have the courage to walk through the doors that God has created for me, and not have the anxiety and fear of being hesitant for the gifts and the blessings that God has lined up for me. And wanting to know that I deserve to be in those rooms. I deserve to be in that space, because God said so. And so continue to let God, like, especially if you're listening and you're a Christian, you're not going to get everything right. You're not. That's just a reality. We're not perfect. God knows that. Only he's perfect. Remember that his grace and mercy is waiting for you to embrace it. It's just waiting for you. And, like, one of the I'm trying not to cry, y'all. That's why I keep speaking so slow. One of my favorite gospel songs makes me want to cry so much, because I'm sorry, y'all. This is why I don't have no video, because I don't want to cry in front of the camera. I also have gone to the concept of not just listening to gospel music because it sounds good, but listening to it to worship him. And the song that I think of, that my mom and I used to sing all the time, is called Chasing After You. It's by Ty Tribbett. And I think that song has changed my life so much because I just continuing to be able to try again and continue to chase after him and not be satisfied until I get to where I want to be, which is with him. And to also not give up, because there was a point in my life where I think I wanted to give up and I tried to give up. Oof, I'm starting to cry. But knowing that he placed people in my life, like my sister and my mom, to guide me and be the support that I needed, was so intentional of him, because God is intentional. I don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe that it's a coincidence that Amari just happened to be my best friend, also my sister. That was God's. That was God. That was God's doing. And I'm so grateful for like the opportunity to be able to, chase after him. And I won't stop just because I don't get it right. So, to wrap up, my comments in general. So to me in the future, to me in the past, to every version of me that I've been, I want to say that you are going to go through so much. And you are going to hurt. You're going to hurt, maybe for a long time. Maybe you won't realize that you're hurting. But at some point you will recognize that the things you've been through have had an effect on you. But the grace and mercy that God has is just waiting. It's waiting. And you're going to feel whole again. Because you're going to realize that you were never abandoned. That you abandoned yourself. And that's why you felt empty. So don't focus on what person A thinks or what person B doesn't think. Because you are enough. The people that God gave to you, Amari, your mom, think that you are enough. And that is what matters. And you deserve to give yourself some grace. Because if God can give you grace, why can't you give yourself some grace? Trust me, you are not too good that you can't give yourself some grace. So keep at it. Keep pushing through. Keep trying again. Keep continuing to communicate. Keep taking time for yourself. And you will be okay. I promise. Well, that's all I got. Okay, we're going to do ins and outs real quick because I don't want this to be a long episode. So, ins and outs of the week. Ins for this week. Cleaning is on the top of my list. I need to do my laundry. I need to put my dishes away. There's some things I need to do around here. All right? So, cleaning is in for this week. Saying no. Because I've been overwhelmed with a lot of things. And I've been saying yes to a lot of stuff. I should have said no to a lot of it. And so saying no in this new week is going to be my in. And also reading my Bible, watching my sermons, going to church Sunday morning. I hope you went to church. If not, go with that next Sunday. Read your Bible. Get the Bible app. Look at the verse of the day. Stuff like that. My end is getting closer to God. Doing what I can. So like I said, I had my little cry session today. Felt a lot better after crying. So, outs for the week. Cussing. I did good this episode, y'all. I didn't say a single cuss word. I think I might have said, frick or something. I might have said that, but, I did not say a cuss word. So, that's what matters. And I'm going to keep at it this whole week. My goal is on the 14th to the whole end of the week. Sunday the 14th. I'm going to avoid cussing. That's the goal. Okay, next out is also being less mad at the world. And, I've had such a bad attitude, and I think it's because I want things to go my way, and they're not. But guess what? My way is not the highway, girl. It's not. And I got a rude awakening to that stuff. God be whooping me sometimes. And I'm not proud of the fact that God has to whoop me sometimes, but it's a reality that I hear him. And I'm not going to be mad at the world anymore. I'm going to focus on what I can control and not focus on what I can't. Because I don't want to be unhappy anymore. And I'm going to be okay. Which leads me to my next out, which is valuing people's happiness over my own. I do so much in terms of like how to like be nice to this person and how to do this right and how to do X, Y, Z, da, da, da. But I need to focus on my own happiness. How do I make myself smile today? How do I make a Liyah happy over person A, B, C, X, Y, Z? You know what I mean? Because we focus too much of our lives on other people. And this is my life to live. God did not give this life for you. You know? God did not give you your life for the next person. He gave you your life for you. So value your own happiness over others. I promise you'll be a lot happier. Anyways, that's all I got for this week. Check out my Instagram. I think next week's episode might be a Q&A, so I might have you submit some questions for next week's episode. But if not anything else, that's all I got for you this Sunday. So, yeah. Love you all. God bless. Peace out.